You see now we're live? Okay.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so good evening, everybody. I call this February 23rd, 2023 Zoom meeting of the ABCGC plus APS to order. Councillor Benton is excused along with APS member Yolanda Montoya Cordova, and the Mayor Chief of Staff Katrina Sandoval is attending as the mayor's designee. Welcome, all standing and new members. We will start with a silent invocation and followed by a pledge of allegiance. And I'll do the pledge of allegiance since I have the flag here. But we'll start with a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move to item 3, which is the approval of minutes. I move for the approval of the August 25th, 2022 ABCGC plus APS meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Thank you. I don't know who it was, but I'm gonna have to get quicker at this. So can I have a roll call vote since this is a Zoom meeting?
Vice Chair Quesada.
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Baca.
Here.
Let's see. Sorry, I've tried to look at my screen. Councillor Grout.
Here.
Councillor Pena.
Here.
Councillor Fibecorn.
Yes.
And Chief of Staff. Sorry, I don't see you anymore. Where are you? Oh, Sandoval. There you are.
Yes.
And I believe that's all the members present, so called. Commissioner Olivas, my apologies. And Commissioner Olivas, I do not hear your audio. I see you're unmuted, though.
You gave a thumbs up.
Okay, thank you.
Which is a yes. And I believe the heres are also yeses.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just being technical here. Sorry. So now we'll move on to public comment. Do we have anybody for public comment? Do we have?
Mr. Vice Chair, we had one sign up for public comment.
All right. Well, then I'll go over the rules. You have 2 minutes to share your comments. You'll be notified when your time is up. You will be muted and moved into the waiting room. Should any commissioners or counselors have any follow-up questions to your comments, you will be given an opportunity to answer that. Julianne, go ahead.
We have Elsie Bill. Go ahead, Elsie, if you can hear us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm a steering committee member of the Coalition for Safer Albuquerque. Even though we have been rather impatiently awaiting a county-city joint strategic plan, we do applaud the county's decision to prioritize for now the Bernalillo Behavioral Healthy Systems of Care Working Group. We would urge you, however, to aim for an expeditious timeline in your work, especially with many urgent developments and issues warranting a cohesive and substantive approach, such as the sobering facility, opioid dollars, changes at MDC, and the ever-increasing crisis of people left living outside, to name a few. Therefore, we would like to suggest that you consider issuing an RFP for a professionally constructed strategic plan as a parallel process to the efforts of the working group. In this way, valuable time may be saved when transitioning from the working group phase. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you for that comment. We will now move on to new business, which is actually election of vice chair and chair. So letter A, as you see, is the chair for the ABCGC, which would, so in 2023, that would be a commissioner. Do we have any nominations for a commissioner to chair the ABCGC plus APS for 2023?
Yes, Mr. Chair Quesada, I would like to nominate Adrian Barboa.
Do I have any other nominations? Okay. I think by default, we probably don't even have to vote, but we'll do a roll call vote just to make it official. Can I have a roll call vote for Commissioner Adrian Barboa?
Okay, we'll start with Chief of Staff Sandoval.
Yes.
Moving on to Councillor Grout.
Yes.
Moving on to Councillor Pena.
Yes, my answer's not here.
Moving on to Councillor Feeblecorn.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to Commissioner Olivas.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Baca,
Yes.
Commissioner Quesada,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you, so called.
Great. So I guess I could just turn the meeting over to our new chair. Can I do that?
Commissioner,
Julie?
yes, yes,
I
if
think
Commissioner Chair Barboa is prepared to, yes.
She's the chair now.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Quesada. We're going to now appoint a new vice chair for the 2023 year. Thank you for your service in 2022. Are there any nominations for City Council? I would like City Councilor as the 2023 vice chair.
I would like to nominate Councillor Feeblecorn.
I would second that. Any other nominations? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Councillor Feeblecorn for vice chair in 2023 ABCGC.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Quesada,
Hi.
Commissioner Baca,
Yes.
Chair Barboa,
Yes.
Commissioner Olivas,
Yes.
Councillor Grout,
Yes.
Chief of Staff Sandoval,
Yes.
Councillor Pena,
Yes.
and Councillor Feeblecorn.
Yes.
So called. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So we'll proceed now on to item C. I did want, maybe we can have a discussion. I wanted to move to either defer item C until the next meeting or revise the published schedule to convene meetings every other month. I thought, and I definitely want to have this as a second or have some discussion if anybody thinks otherwise. I just thought as chair, I would just love to really set up an agenda that we can hopefully get for and even share it with the whole team sort of ahead of time for what we plan those every other meetings to be. And I sort of wanted to have a series of how we might be able to get through some stuff, especially with the work group happening and other things sort of moving along. I thought maybe myself and Vice Chair Feeblecorn could create like a agenda that we could go, but every other month, I think would give us a little bit of time to get together and maybe do work in between or have conversations in between if needed. Is it okay that I have some discussion on this right now, Julianne, or do I need to have a motion on the?
I think you can have a discussion prior to, so that we know whether we're going to defer this or just make the motion now to move in that direction.
Thank you. So discussion, please. How do others feel about it? Any thoughts, anything missing? Yes, Commissioner Olivas?
Madam Chair, I really support this idea. I think that it's better that we focus on quality over quantity here. And I think that gives some time to really hone in and focus less time on bigger issues and come prepared and that sort of thing. So I support that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I would agree with that.
Thank you, Councilor Grout. Yes, Commissioner Baca?
I also agree. I think that's a very sound idea. I would support that.
Yes, Commissioner Quesada?
Yeah, it just seems like that's what happens anyway. It's really hard to, I know everybody's busy and they have a lot of things on their plate. And so every other month, I think probably makes sense because that's pretty much what happens anyhow. So yeah, I'll support that.
Vice Chair Peoplecorn, any concerns, thoughts?
No, Madam Chair, I support this. I think it's really hard to find a time that works for this many people on a monthly basis. And so that was our experience last year. We just had a hard time actually meeting. I think meeting every other month will get more of us here and we can actually have substantive conversations that way. So I'd be happy to make a motion to move the meeting schedule to every other month for 2023.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. I guess Julianne, please call the roll. Thank you. I'm in different meeting.
And just for a point of clarification, I understand there's a meeting conflict on the city council for the April meeting. So every other month, my assumption would start in March and then the next in May. Okay, perfect. So I will call the roll. Let's do Vice Chair Freiberkorn.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
Councilor Pena. We'll come back. Commissioner Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Olivas.
Yes.
Councilor Grout.
Yes.
Chief of Staff Sandoval.
Yes.
And Councilor Pena. I think that's majority.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. I have approval of, I move to approve, next item D, I move to approve the 2023 Open Meetings Act resolution. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All in favor, I guess roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
Commissioner Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Olivas.
Yes.
Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Vice Chair Feiblkorn.
Yes.
Councilor Grout.
Yes.
Councilor Pena. Chief of Staff Sandoval.
Yes.
So called.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item E, we have APD and APS collaboration discussion, and we have APD Deputy Chief Brown to present.
Hey everybody, this is Josh Brown, Deputy Chief for APD. I've worked with a lot of our counselors in this room. Brian Lindley, I see on here from BCSO, now works for the county. I was approached for this. I don't really have a presentation as much as I was asked to kind of come up with some ideas. Filters with APS and how better to have that communication, one. And then two, it was asked, do you want to have a presence at the school? Well, really, we don't. But, and that's going to be up to the principals, the staff and everything else, because, we don't want our presence to disrupt the students and, because the parents see an officer on campus or the cop cars and they always think something's wrong. So how do we better, create that communication between the area commands, APS, and have that partnership and teamwork to where when something happens, we have that direct contact. Or if, we had a thing the other day at Washington Middle School where, there was some stuff going on and we were able to get some of our for many SROs over there, but also our downtown PRT units who were able to coordinate with the principal and, have a presence there to kind of alleviate any fears of anything going on. But also, how do we make it to where the kids feel comfortable having us there as well? And, you know, notification to parents like, hey, you know, APD's on campus. It's a good thing. And, you know, kind of moving forward from there. So this is more of an open discussion than it is just like a presentation. So to kind of get that ball going, you know, just thoughts and ideas as far as that goes, because we're open for anything as far as having an officer on campus, you know, field briefings, things like that. I can't station officers on campus, but we can, you know, have a joint partnership or, you know, that camaraderie and that familiarization with each other to where, you know, the principal or staff feels comfortable calling their area commander, you know, setting up things, you know, if they want to have an officer talk to kids or just have that, you know, that something that doesn't feel right. I want to have an officer check on the school. They have that immediate contact and just, you know, how we move forward from there.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Brown. I think you were breaking out a little bit, at least for me. I'm not sure if it was mine. Okay. But if you're, can you hear me, Deputy Chief Brown?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. That's some really good information. Well, thank you for bringing the discussion. Yes, Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Yeah, you know, I really feel that it's important that that we have a relationship with you know, our APD and our sheriffs. You know, part of the big goal that we've been doing here on the Southwest Mesa and which has been very successful is, you know, the community policing model. And we believe that this is a part of that, right? Is that connection to schools, to kids, to know that you are not there as the bad guy, you're actually there as the good guy. And you know, that was one of the things that you know, Councilor Pena and myself, when we decided to do the lowrider and have the APD do the lowrider, and now kids, you know, they attract to the car, and now they're talking to the officers, and they see that they're just people and they're not there to do anything other than you know, make sure that they're safe. We believe that is, you know, something that's truly important to the community, and that we, you know, we would support more of that in different aspects. I like the idea that, so I understand that a lot of times, you know, we're understaffed and we can't spend time there. But if there was, you know, a specific, you know, presentations, I love the fact that you would go talk to the students and especially the officers that work in that area. So they get to know who they are. So they get to connect to them in a different level. And not connect to them when something goes wrong or when something goes bad, but connect to them on an everyday kind of basis. And so they feel comfortable, you know, reaching out and being present and actually talking to our officers when the time comes for that, if it's necessary for that. So I really truly believe that this is part of the community policing model, and for sure, the more contact we could have with our students, the better. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Ms. Danielle Gonzalez.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm Danielle Gonzalez from the APS board. And I just had a question as to whether anyone from the APS administration was invited to speak to the sort of formal APS point of view. I certainly have heard a lot of concerns about safety during public comment during our board meetings, and it's definitely an issue we've been discussing, but I can't speak from the perspective of the district on official point of view around having APD on campus.
I don't think anyone was invited. That's other than both you and Yolanda Montoya Cordova as part of APS. I think I wanted just a point, maybe our discussion can continue from the point I heard, which I think I heard Chief Brown saying, do we need a presence in the school? And his clear answer sounded like he said no. But what we do need is clear communications and obviously those important relationships. and those important ways that are strengthening the communication between the school and the sub-area command. Right, so that's what I heard, like not a, and maybe that's a relief from some of the stuff you've heard at the school board meetings too, but like there, it sounds like what Chief, and please don't let me speak for you, Chief Brown, but to say that the strengthening of the communications, the relationship, maybe things that are planned, like going into the schools, like Commissioner Quesada was saying, and you also said, Chief Brown, to, do presentations or have things where students and teachers and staff are interacting with police in a positive way on the, regularly scheduled for the schools, and that those communications are what's needed.
Yeah, and kind of what I'm hitting on there is, during COVID, everybody kind of stayed home and nobody had contact with anybody. And so we used to have certain relationships within the school system to where, everybody that worked in that area, the principals would know their commanders, and as, things progress and people retire, we have movement, we lose some of those that communication. And I think COVID really put a kibosh on a lot of that with, people being able to, well, one, nobody was at the school, so nobody, had contact with APD. But like I said, a lot of it's not what I want to just make sure is like I wish I could put a cop in every school, but I know a lot of parents don't want to do that. I know a lot of the APS administration doesn't want to do that. And we don't have the staffing for it. So I want to just kind of throw that out there. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more of the kind of what you said, commissioners, just having that open line of communication. We have our imprint program, which is in the elementary schools, where they go in and talk to the little kids and all that. But, at our, but they're most susceptible to, things coming up. But, you also have those kids that we're missing out on too, that are, the teenage years, to where, what they see on Snapchat or Hulu or whatever social media stuff they do is, that's their reality now, instead of, actually talking to someone anymore, or getting to know your local officer, or, having that comfort level to, if you look at the historical traumas that, between law enforcement and people of color in the past, no matter where you were at, it's real, it's a thing. How do we destigmatize certain things and, reach those kids that want help, or, reach the teachers that they see something going on, but are, don't know how to help that kid, or, put somebody on the right path. So.
Thank you so much, Chief Brown. Any other comments, questions? I'm not sure. Yes, Ms. Danielle Gonzalez.
Yeah, just to follow up, so I agree with all of that, and I think that's generally the perspective from APS. And at the end of the day, APD are police officers whose job is to arrest people who commit a crime, and that's not the goal in APS, is to arrest. So I think, I agree there's challenges there. A lot of what the public comment has been recently is from students, and it's students expressing their concern about their safety and about gun violence on campus. And so a lot of what we're hearing now actually is students demanding more security presence on campus. So it is, maybe it's just the ones who are coming to public comment, but they are actually demanding that we provide more police, more SROs and more staff in general. So it does lead to a sticky situation in terms of how the district can respond, whether that's more security officers, more counselors, a partnership with APD just to have the presence. So I think at the end of the day, I do agree it is probably a school to school and with the engagement of the principal conversation, but the highest conversation really has been concern from students about their safety regarding gun violence.
And just to kind of, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to just jump in, but I'm in my truck. So
That's fine.
Part of what we've seen in 2022, the start of the school year in the fall, was we've seen more hoax threats, swatting situations where at APS schools than we've seen probably in the last 5 years. And, we have a response that shows up, and I know APS has their protocols. APD has their protocols, and we're doing a better job of communicating with APS police. We have BCSO, state police, And everybody in the surrounding neighborhood, when a threat comes out to a school, you're going to get everybody. And, you know, depending on what that looks like. And so, you know, knowing that, you know, there's cameras inside, that there's everything else. And one of the things that, you know, we were talking about is, you know, the kids all have cell phones now, and they all have social media, and they see the threats. And, you know, my daughter is a high schooler now. And if there's a threat at another school, it's already in her school in about 30 minutes. I mean, it goes citywide. And so there is that fear in our kids that, you know, something's going to happen, or, you know, there's always a constant threat out there. You know, shoot, you know, back in the 90s when I was a kid, we didn't have those stuff, but it's the reality that they live in. And so, you know, just how do we reach that to them? You know, that there is resources that are explained to them, I guess, what a police process is going to look like. I know you guys do drills and all that kind of stuff, and I know Brian Lindley's on here. And Brian, if you want to throw something in there too, from what, you know, your experience with BCSO and some of the county schools too.
Thanks, Jess. Sorry, I had to unmute everything. No, it's the same thing as Chief Brown has said. Well, I should say now, BCSO, I'm no longer we, experienced the same problems, and there was the same issues. It's the same, like you said, with social media. Stuff spreads so fast and so quickly through the schools and through the kids and everything, that it's a battle to stay ahead of all of it. So I do support what Chief Brown is saying. I see his remarks are very accurate to what BCSO is experiencing as well.
Thank you, Mr. Brian Lindy. Yes, Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, I just want to follow up from when I left the school board, when I left the APS School Board of Education and became a county commissioner. The first thing I did was pass a immigrant-friendly resolution and making Bernalillo County an immigrant-friendly county. And so when I have concerns about, you know, kids having interactions with our sheriffs and our APD, I think at a higher level, we've got to make sure that our immigrant community knows that they're safe, that they're able to reach out to APD and sheriffs if they're happen to dealing with something at home, or they're a victim of a crime. These things are big, and if we don't connect, if we don't have community connections through that, then they will become the biggest victims of what's happening in our community. And so when I say that we have to have a relationship, when I say there has to be a connection with our officers and our community, I'm talking at a higher level with our immigrant community, because they're afraid, right? We know that they have fears, and we want to let them know that our police officers aren't there to do that job. That's not what they do. That is not their job. They do not do immigration. And if we don't have that connection, if we don't have that interaction, and we don't have that information flowing back and forth through our students and through our families, because when you look at APS, we always talk about students, but you're actually talking about families here. You're not just talking about students when you talk about APS, because everything that happens through APS affects the family unit. And so that is why my concern is, wherever we can have presence, wherever we can have communication, wherever we can have dialogue with our first responders, and it doesn't even just have to be APD or sheriff, it could be our fire department, it could be, we have to have relationships with our community in order to be stronger, and in order for them to feel comfortable to reach out. That's why my statement was put out that way, because I believe that's important, and that will save lives, and that will make people feel safe if they feel they can reach out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Quesada. And thank you, Mr. Neil Gonzalez, also for sharing the sort of what you've been hearing from the school board and from students particularly. Any other discussion? Well, it's not an item to be voted on, but I think it's good for us to be aware, and thank you for bringing this to this meeting, and to hear right what I think. I'm it's been important for me to hear that the students are asking for this and what that means and how, we create ways that folks can feel safe. And then, and we do have, APS, police and security and other means. So what does it mean to create safe campuses for students? So thank you for bringing this conversation, and staff. We want our teachers and everybody good too. Okay, I'm gonna move to item number 6A, the continuing behavioral health initiative updates. Is there a BHI Senior Program Manager, Pam Acosta, to present on the Tiny Home Village update?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. I'll give a brief overview on the Tiny Home Village. We currently have 15 villagers and are interviewing for 5 new individuals. We're hoping to get up to 20 by the end of next week. We have just hired 3 individuals, which part of our reason for not filling to capacity has been staffing. We were operating with 2 Bernco employees and then borrowed staff, but we've hired 3 individuals. Our goal is to be fully staffed to where we would have Bernco support on each of our shifts, so day, swing, and overnight shift, the grave shift. We anticipate being at full capacity by April 1st. We're in the process of cleaning and repairing homes that have been lived in before, and we're preparing the homes that have been vacant. We're making sure that there's pest control has come through and that they're clean, dusted, and sufficient for somebody to move in ready. And again, we're hoping to be at capacity. The last time that we updated on Tiny Home Village, we had 5 individuals when I first came on, which was in July. And we got up to 19 and 3 have recently moved out. So we're doing very well. There's at least 5 individuals that are currently residing there now that have housing vouchers. A few of them have already secured a place and are just waiting for their move-in dates. So we anticipate and some of them, it's been really good because some of them have been with us in 8 months and they feel ready and supported and ready to move independently. So we'll continue to support those individuals even after they move out. We do have an auditor, an evaluator who is evaluating the progress of the Tiny Homes Village. This company is called Pivot. We are pending an IRB because our contracted partner is UNM Office of Community Health, and so we're pending an IRB. And once we get that, they can begin the evaluation of the service provision. And then we also have a clinical audit scheduled, I believe in a couple of weeks, by a woman by the name of Dr. Helen Tafoya, who has been doing all of BHI clinical audits. We've been rotating through our different focal points. So our harm reduction prevention subcommittee, our community support subcommittee, that portfolio. And now we're finally on to the housing portfolio. So she's going to start doing all of her clinical audits on those programs. And then lastly, we have a mural dedication that will be occurring in May for an artist who did the mural at the Tiny Homes Village. And we just want to celebrate her and celebrate the work that she did. It is going to be somewhat of an intimate gathering. Invites will be sent out, but we're trying to be respectful of the clients that we do have there right now. And some of them have given us information that they didn't really want this to be a really big event. And so we're being respectful and mindful of that, trauma informed. And I think that's it for me, but I will stand for any questions.
I have one question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thanks for that update. What is full capacity at the Tiny Homes Village?
Sure. Madam Chair and Ms. Grout, I'm sorry, is it Councilor Grout?
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize, Councilor Grout. Full capacity is 30 tiny homes. So a capacity of 30. But there has been some discussion that we are hoping to maybe make our capacity 29. So we always have one home available. Several months ago, we had one of the village homes was shot from the street access. And so in order to move that individual out, fortunately, we did have a vacant unit and we were able to move that individual in quickly. And so having lessons learned, we're thinking that if we reach to 29 units, that if there is any kind of other issue, we would have another unit that we can move them into quickly. And then it would also be available for short time, rapid rehousing for a short time. Somebody needed, somewhere to stay for a couple of weeks or a month.
And thank you for that, Madam Chair. Is there, can more than one person stay in a suite?
So that used to be something that we were accepting, but we checked with the housing code and it's not advised because the unit is 120 square feet. It's not advised to have more than one person living in here. The units do have a queen size bed, a desk, and a small closet space, but the unit really wouldn't necessarily house a couple comfortably. We do have one couple that was grandfathered in because she's a caretaker of the other individual.
Understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Grout. And thank you, yes, Pam, for all that great update and details. I guess I'm wondering, can we, and I'm a little disappointed to hear that there's not availability, something that we have heard from a lot of the folks living in homelessness, even folks that have gotten housing vouchers. Sometimes, when folks have been living on the streets, it's hard to live alone. And sometimes it's a huge barrier. I believe that's why they originally created it with the tiny home village it's a huge barrier. If folks are in a couple and they can't move together, then they will just often decide not to take the shelter because they want to stay together. And so I don't know if you're saying that was just advised. I thought that that's what we had planned in the beginning. So I don't know what that.
We had one of the deputy county managers who looked into it, and I believe there was some sort of a housing code or housing rule that advised that change.
Because I think, I'd love to know more about that. Because I think even when they were talking about the pellets or the other, those places are even smaller than I think our 1P, and they were even to be able to house, some of them were being sold as to house families. They were a little bit bigger, but most of them were, even the smallest ones were to host 2 people. And I know they were smaller than our tiny home village spaces. But yeah, I'd love to follow up on more information. That I guess I was going to ask you actually, Senior Manager Acosta, for what is, for folks to understand what is the program of tiny homes? We know thankfully now folks are getting in through the process that you all set forth, but when they're in, what can somebody expect if they're accepted in? What's a day in the life of a villager?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So day in the life would be, we accept them into the program. We are looking, and so I have to let the group know that we just hired on a program manager. His name is Stephen Brooks. And some of the ideas that he's tossed around is a phased approach. So meeting people where they are. So maybe the first phase would be 1 to 3 months where they're just getting acclimated. Many folks have been either homeless or on the streets, and just giving them some space and some time to feel acclimated, to feel safe. Then we would move into a second phase where we would engage them in, whether it be whatever their goals, their personal goals, and then their housing goals would be, or their interpersonal goals would be, start moving them into their goals. And then the final phase would be, getting ready to move out. So we're looking at 18 months to 24 months. 18, if we're able to, like I mentioned earlier, we have some folks that are moving out in less than that, in 7 months, 8 months. But being able to support them up to 24 months if we needed to. So some of the activities that they're able to participate in is they have case managers who are on site helping them through each of these phases, getting them enrolled in SNAP benefits, getting them enrolled for some who may be able or may need to apply for Social Security or insurance, health insurance, getting a food box, getting set up with a primary care physician. And then we also simultaneously offer groups. groups pertaining to harm reduction, groups pertaining to mindfulness. We are also partnering up with, so our contractor is the University of New Mexico Office of Community Health, and we're also partnering with the Albuquerque, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank, ACHR, Albuquerque Center for Hope and Recovery, to come in and provide their, they're now calling it A2A, which it formerly was known as Addicts to Athletes. It's a physical fitness program. And we're also looking, so we have a living room in Tijeras in the East Mountains. We're also looking at transporting clients so that they can do some groups through ACHR up in the East Mountains. So, you know, we're also utilizing that building effectively. And then it also gives them a break from being in town. In addition to groups that are being offered, and those groups are being offered during the day and evening hours. So we have groups throughout the day, which is really good. The staff is also, the Bernco staff is also engaging them, playing video games with them at night, having karaoke nights. Some of these are client-led game nights. And so that's, you know, we're just trying to get them to establish a support network and then also a feel of the community. And then they also have access to a therapist who will help either do individual counseling, couples counseling if there is a couple, and family counseling if they wanted to participate with a family counselor. Also, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Also, we're looking to expand either with the city, a partnership with the city and their volunteer service, or with the county's volunteer service, but to provide a volunteer opportunity for some of the individuals who maybe not job ready, but really what we're finding is that when they move into the tiny home village, they have such a heart of gratitude that they're really wanting to give back. And so they're expressing that to us. And so we really want to provide an avenue to where they can expend that energy and, you know, give back appropriately. We want to support them through that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. That last comment reminds me, I remember a year ago, Chief Pettis was saying that they had gotten some volunteers from both the CARES campus to help with animal control, or with some of the, I guess not with the actual job of the animal control, but some volunteer work for the animal department, animal care unit.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for Senior Manager Acosta? Thank you so much for attending this evening and giving us that great update.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And we did want to hear, and I heard some public comment ask about this. So item A2 is joint strategic plan discussion. We have Reina Martinez with Department of Behavioral Health, and again, Senior Manager Pam Acosta with BHI, as well as Gilbert Ramirez with the City Community Family Services to present or start our discussion.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. It's been a while since I've seen you guys, so nice to see everyone. I guess I can go ahead and start. I know there's, you know, a number of our team is here, and so definitely team, feel free to jump in if I'm missing anything, but I don't mind kind of starting this off. So just to provide some history, I know that there are a number of people here that are aware of kind of where this project began, but just to provide a quick timeline and some history. In January of 21, we had a discussion here at the, I believe it was January of 21, it was the first part of 21. We discussed at the ABCGC collaboration with the City of Albuquerque, a real kind of strategic collaboration with the City of Albuquerque to address behavioral health. In March of 21, we began working with a third-party consultant via Positiva to look at a gap analysis. That gap analysis was done fairly quickly. It was done and completed in June of 21, and it really prompted us to embark on this joint strategic plan effort. There were members of the management and leadership team at both the City of Albuquerque's Albuquerque Community Safety Department and the Department of Family and Community Services, as well as Bernalillo County's Behavioral Health and Department of Behavioral Health Services. So we started working on a skeleton for a joint strategic plan. We solicited community feedback through a survey, which began in December of 21, and then into the beginning part of 22. In January and February, we had a couple of community forums to kind of solicit community feedback on strategic plan moving forward. We drafted a joint strategic plan in June of 22, and we shared that publicly. It's still available. There's, as well as any additional addendums, we did an addendum to that joint strategic, the Via Positiva that looked at some of the gaps and kind of the funding capabilities of both the city and Albuquerque. We also looked at we provided feedback on the outcome of the community survey. So all of that is still available. We'll put that link in the chat so you can see all of the documents and kind of how we got to this point, because I know I'm going through this pretty rushed. And so in June, we drafted that joint strategic plan and posted it publicly for additional community feedback. There were a number of concerns and feedback that came, valid concerns, I would say, from the community, talking about how we didn't do a good enough effort expanding community input on the strategic plan, especially since we only had 2 community forums. There was a lot of question as to why we didn't have additional community forums or more focus groups. We also had some questions about whether or not we wanted to use a third-party non-biased strategic planner versus leadership from the respective teams. And then also ensuring that the strategic plan had accountability and community feedback progress made towards reaching some of those goals that we were establishing in the strategic plan. And so we began working following that time, so the latter part of 22, looking at different, seeking consultation from different providers. And more recently, we began working on a scope of work development with the third-party strategic planner. And we put together kind of this draft of a scope of work. At that time, of course, in January, the administrative resolution came about establishing the working group. And so that really kind of told us that we needed to take a pause and to allow that group to have input, first to view that scope of work and to provide input on that scope of work, as well as deliverables and the timelines of the joint strategic plan. So that is kind of the short and fast of where we started this project and to date. And so I think at this point that's definitely a good stopping point for me. And so I welcome questions, because I know that there's probably a number of them, because I'm running through that fairly quickly, but opening up for questions, as well as for my fellow staff members to join in if I missed anything.
Thank you, Reina Martinez. Yeah, and well, definitely open for questions, or also from your peers if there was any other thing to want to add to Reina's sort of rundown. Yes, Gilbert Ramirez.
Madam Chair, thank you, members. Yeah, and I know Reina gave a wonderful kind of historic summary of where we're at and where we're going. Alongside that, the state is currently running side by side their strategic plan for the behavioral health collaborative. And so we've been in constant communication with the state as to how does that crossover really happen with regards to what the state is prioritizing for behavioral health initiatives, as well as here at the county and the city. And in all honesty, it's probably going to be the first time we embark upon a process where city counties align themselves with what state is identifying priority. And so we're very, very excited about being able to do that. Their proposed plan, I think, will be done by the end of June, probably early July, and they're supposed to have that back to the state with regards to our communication with them. And so I think it was kind of timely that a pause was kind of put on what our next steps are in moving in the direction to allow for the state to kind of tease out their process and their strategic plan, and then allow that integration into what we're doing, so that we really look at a thorough, comprehensive mechanism to address some of the biggest gaps that we have. So I just wanted to add that piece, because in the background, there's been these other pieces and really a lot of work and initiatives to align ourselves at the state level, county level, city level. And despite the fact that, it's taken a little bit of time, I think it's been worth it, just understanding where they're at and how we're kind of trying to work to align all those processes. And I did hear the feedback earlier with regards to, moving forward with a third-party entity to probably move the next steps of that collaboration and the merging of the two plans, and looking at who that contractor could be. So we appreciate that feedback. And that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Gilbert Ramirez. Any other? Thank you, Bernalillo County staff. I see you shaking your heads now. I just want to say I also just appreciate and thank you, Reina, for laying out the timeline, and also to our new commission. We passed that work group, thankfully here with Commissioner Olivas and Commissioner Baca, and we were able, and I think everybody voted for it on the commission, but we were able to form a working group, and some of the folks are on it, right? And it's a small, nimble, supposed to be done by like May, June, right? With some recommendations. So I think we have lots of, and the fact that the state's doing something, we're doing something, we're also in transition, putting our pieces together. Everybody's, I think it feels like a good time to, stay, of course, steady in the work that we do every day, and that doesn't stop. But that, of course, take a step to look at the full picture and have, let this work group provide some, hopefully, insights and recommendations as well, and bring all the pieces in. Any other comments? I know I see you, Mr. Michael Barndall. I don't know if you came off screen because you wanted to maybe comment on it. I know you're not a voting member, but I would definitely welcome your.
Chair Barboa, thank you. The next item on the agenda actually is update from the subcommittees of the BHI. So I'm here with Kate Reeves and Manny Crespin when we get to that point in the agenda.
Okay, great. Any other questions about the strategic plan collaboration? I think what I feel most excited about is that the city, the county, APS, and UNMH are really into, and now, knowing that the state, where I think folks are trying to align all the pieces local to state. So thank you. Yes, Commissioner Olivas.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the staff report on this, and it seems like this has been pretty well thought out as far as where we are right now and where we're going. And I know I've relied pretty heavily on that gap analysis and in my own observations of what's going on, as well as the draft strategic plan that I think are certainly a great starting place. They're more than a starting place for us, but I do agree with the plan reluctantly. Of course, I know we all want to move faster. This issue needs action now, but it's better, I think, that we get this right and do it in the context of a state level plan, as well as allowing this work group that includes Mr. Barndaller, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Costa. So several members of that work group are actually here in the room, and I'm really anxiously awaiting their work product and using that hopefully to advise what we do as we continue, and whether we completely rewrite that plan or change it or however we move forward. I think that we're in as good a place as we can be right now to show some progress on this in the near future. So thank you all for your work on this, Ms. Martinez and Mr. Ramirez.
I didn't find my unmute button. It's only been 3 years on Zooms. Any other questions, discussion? Yeah, thank you all the staff, county, city, everyone for just putting in, willing in. This is for our families, so appreciate everybody's work and diving in. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, opportunities for subcommittees to be able to address the commission. And sure, I see Mr. Crespin and Mr. Barndaller. I'm not sure who else. So who wants to take the floor first?
Hi there, I can. This is Kate Reeves. I am the chair of the BHI Steering Committee, as well as the Subcommittee Prevention, Intervention, and Harm Reduction. Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and other commissioners for having us here today. As an update for the intervention, prevention, and harm reduction, I do not have a substantial update to give today. But again, thank you guys for having us here.
Thank you for attending, Ms. Reeves.
And Madam Chair, I'm going to go next. This is Michael Barndaller. I am the chair of the Supportive Housing Subcommittee and vice chair of the Steering Committee. And we actually have been busy since the last time the ABCGC plus APS met. So I'll try to give you a quick update. In addition, crisis chair, since Cynthia Sontag can't be here, she asked if I'd just give a couple of brief remarks on her behalf, if that's okay with you, Chair Barboa.
Yes.
So a couple of exciting things we now have going on in the county, a wellness motel for homeless families. And we were able to put two pots of money into that. There was $1 million that we put into the hotel itself to rent the rooms and do whatever we needed to do to accommodate 50 families, which was wonderful. And then there was another amount of money, which I don't recall at this time, for actual services, for mostly for the kids and ties to APS. So make sure they're still getting their education, they're still getting activities during the day while they're housed at the hotel. So thanks to Chief Perez from the Bernalillo County Fire Department for making all of that come together and work. It's 50 families that are benefiting. It's the second year in a row we've been able to do that. Speaking of shelter, and I hope Mr. Ramirez is still here, because working with him and with Family and Community Services, we were able to put $621,000 into the West Side Shelter. We had a proposal for a little bit more than that, but we just didn't feel we could go beyond the 621 at this point. And most of that is for improvements and upgrades, things that just really needed to happen to keep the shelter operating in a clean, effective way. So for instance, bathrooms, updating in bathrooms and plumbing, things like dividers. And if you've never been to the West Side Shelter, they're big, massive dorm rooms. I mean, they're huge. Can't even give you the sense of the size. And so we could put dividers in, mattresses. Bed bugs is a problem out there. We were told that there's a thing called a bed bug proof mattress. So we have invested in those as well. So we wanted to make sure that the West Side Shelter continued to operate, particularly as we were getting into the winter season. We made that decision sometime last fall. We put $3.5 million of one-time capital money into a program for the Veterans Integration Center. And this is also really exciting for us. It matched Veterans Administration $3.25 million, I believe, to create permanent supportive housing for veterans and a few veterans' families. They already have the site located. It's basically Gibson and I-25. So this was to help purchase the site. The other good news about that is because of the Veterans Administration operating it, it's one-time money out of our capital budget, and we won't be, to the best of our knowledge, responsible for any ongoing operational costs. So that was something that was exciting. We also spent probably 3 months of working with the staff and with the HopeWorks management on an update and a new budget, because the contract was up for the Hope Village program. For those of you who are not familiar with Hope Village, it's 42 units of permanent supportive housing for individuals who are homeless, who have behavioral health issues, in most cases co-occurring substance use disorders and severe mental illness, and most of whom are criminal justice involved. These are the folks that you see on the street all the time that the community is frightened about and are panhandling. And so 42 units, and the original operating budget that the county was funding, which went back to about 2019, was for $1 million. So the contract was up and they came back for a renewal. The first budget they brought to us was for 1.8 million, and that kind of frightened us a little bit. And so again, working with the staff and with the committee members, and we've got 12 great members of the Supportive Housing Subcommittee, and getting tons of additional information and budget, particularly budget information from HopeWorks for the Hope Village program. We were able to whittle their request down to $1.376 million, which the commission approved. And correct me if I'm wrong, Pam, but I think that was in January. So that was really exciting. The last item that I'd like to, for Housing Subcommittee, bring up, and thank you for Senior Manager Acosta for the great report on Tiny Home Village. As we all know, it's Tiny Home Village, just because of the lack of people actually staying there, has been pretty controversial over time. And so I want you to know that the Supportive Housing Subcommittee is very aware of that. We put it on the agenda at almost every single meeting. We are holding the staff's feet to the fire on this one. It's something that we'll continue to report back to you. And I'm happy, as well as Senior Manager Acosta, to at any time give reports on that as best we can, working with the committee. If I could then, Chair Barboa, briefly pull up, I can find it real quickly here. So Cynthia Sontag, chair of the crisis committee, basically said, and this was a structural change when the behavioral health initiative was pulled out of the Division of Behavioral Health Services. The crisis subcommittee was a part of one of the 4 subcommittees with BHI. Over time, because most of the work of the crisis subcommittee is really related to the care campus and all the programs there, there was kind of a move back and forth between the committees working with staff like, like Ms. Martinez, Reina Martinez, other members of the staff, and the BHI staff. And so a lot of the past 4 or 5 months has been resolving that for them. They're now solidly, once again, ensconced in the Behavioral Health Initiative. And their real focus right now and their goal right now is to work with whatever party is willing to work with them on the new crisis triage center that's coming online in 2024. It's one of the most exciting things, I think, that's come out of the Behavioral Health Initiative. And it was actually one of the first recommendations that the BHI should spend money on when it was formed and the tax was approved X number of years ago. So that's my report, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you again, Mr. Barndollar.
I have.
Yes, Councilor Grant.
I like questions.
Me too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that great report too. That was very informative. I learned a lot. And thank you for putting some money into the West Side Shelter. I know that they need it out there. I'm very excited about the Veterans Integration Center. I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of these men and women. And so I'm really excited to see that grow and become part of a reality. Can you tell me where the Wellness Hotel is that you were talking about?
Commissioner Barboa, Councilor Grant, I will actually defer to Senior Manager Costa because I can't remember specifically the name of it and where it is.
I believe, if I'm correct, I believe it is off of Manal and Central Albuquerque. I don't know the exact name either. I want to say Hawthorne, but I could be wrong.
I think that, oh no, it's not Hawthorne. That's the, but there is, it's, oh, maybe it is Hawthorne. I shouldn't say that. There's one Hawthorne on University, but it might actually be Councilor Grout in either your People or Councilor Corn's district. I just can't remember the street. It's close to a school. They prioritized families, which, and they've been working with the school. Chief Pettis gives me regular updates. They've been working with the school. I've learned a lot from what the city's done with their wellness hotels. We've taken a lot of those lessons, and yeah, they're coordinating with schools to help kids get to school. For the Bernalillo County one, it's mostly families that are.
That's wonderful. Is it on Manal or is it on Central?
I wish Chief Pettis was here. He would
tell us. I'm trying to look really quick, but I do believe that it is on Manal. I'm trying to look at the proposal really quick. For the location, but typically they don't release the location, I believe, for the protection of the villagers that are the residents that live there. So that's why I think it's usually difficult for us to pinpoint it.
Got it.
I apologize.
Yep, Madam Chair, if I could just jump in and say, I think, I believe it's in my district, but I'm not really sure of that because we have asked and been told that it would be great if that was not public information. And so if we could not say that on a meeting like this, that would be great.
Thank you. Got it.
Thank you for that catch. But yeah, they've been running well. I think we're learning lots from those spaces. And I know, I mean, to take the cities, but I know I heard a lot from their report out of last year. Like they've done things like added, counselors on each floor and sort of just added the way they changed their structure, consistently learning how to best meet the needs of folks. Yes, Senior Manager Costa.
Yes, thank you. And I wanted to, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to comment because this applies to Madam Chair Reeves' group with the intervention, prevention, and harm reduction. We also approved $29,000 towards the city's adverse childhood experiences program, which would allow for equipment, furniture, and supplies, also uniforms, the ability to pay for uniforms for those who are employed. The city's the city's wellness multifamily housing motel has a room on each floor dedicated to the adverse childhood experiences. So they have case manager and a clinician, I think, dedicated to each floor. So I did want to acknowledge that. And I believe that the winter wellness, which is managed through the Bernalillo County, also has case management built into it. We're using some of our BHI providers to provide case management and link individuals with services as well.
Thank you, Senior Manager. Any other questions? Thank you for that great question, Councilor Grout. Awesome. Any other subcommittees?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'm going to send my update. It's a really long update. It's about 7 pages long. So for the consideration of time, I'll go ahead and pass the floor back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Crispina. I will make sure to review that 7 pages. Might have to put it on my reading list for the weekend. Thank you, though. Thank you for being so thorough and for serving on that committee. I did want to, there is no, we'll move on to announcement of the next Albuquerque.
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, I was supposed to go back.
No worries. Just for point of clarification on your nomination as chair, we do not have a second recorded. So if we can have a second from a member. Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor. We
Thank
will
you,
get that
Councilor.
recorded.
I'm like, haha, I'm not really your chair. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I just did want to announce that on my own, as my privilege as the chair, to point of privilege to speak, the county and the city and several other counties were involved, and DEA's office. We had Fentanyl Awareness Day yesterday at the Roundhouse. Vanessa passed a proclamation at the county, just really bringing, being able to talk with so many families that really they feel the huge need is to make folks aware of the fentanyl crisis. And so we had a great day talking to legislators in the Roundhouse. There was a memorial passed, and I just wanted to share that. I think this committee will be hearing a lot about those updates as well as our work group. So I just wanted to share and to share that piece. Thank you. So if the announcement of the next Albuquerque Bernalillo County Government Commission meeting is Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, ABCGC plus APS meeting at 5 p.m. Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers. And Julianne, is that we, or as I'm chair, are we allowed to have hybrid, or did we make a decision?
Yes, no,
Okay.
so definitely what your preference is on if you want these to continue hybrid or one way or the other, but we will publish either way.
Thank you. And any members, if you want to reach me, if you have a preference about any of that, I'm definitely open to it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Beeble-Corn. Thank you to this group for everybody's service. If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned.